From New York and on the new Hot 97 app, Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since we talked to her. Last time she was on the show, she gave us an amazing interview. It's Ebro in the morning, Laura Stiles, Rosenberg. And on the phone, legend comedian Monique. What up, Mo?
Hey, my babies. Good morning. I'm also standing here with my husband, Sydney.
Hey, Sydney, what's going down, man?
Good morning, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. So, wait, Sydney, are you the representative of Monique in this Netflix boycott situation to make sure it goes right? Is that that's what we doing?
Absolutely. One of them, along with fraternity Ricky Anderson and myself. However, I'm here today.
All right, well, let's do it. Look, Monique, let's get right to it. I'm all for boycotts. You know, I boycotted the NFL this year. I didn't like how things happened with Colin Kaepernick. I didn't like how things was happening with the owners playing with what things that were important to players and you know, that give their bodies to the NFL and how they thought it was something to play with. So I boycotted the NFL. So I'm all for boycotts. But you're saying boycott Netflix. What are you saying why? Why are we doing this?
Well, I'm saying we're doing it because when you look at the numbers, baby, they just don't add up. And until Netflix treats female comedians of color fairly, we need not to support a company that devalues black women as comedians across the board.
Now, and so you're saying, and this is specifically about black women and Latin women, because now I was wrong the other day because when I heard you, you said it was gender-based and race pay disparity was the note that I saw from you based on your audio. And I thought that Tiffany Haddish's special was on Netflix, but it was actually on Showtime.
On Showtime, yes.
So, yes, Netflix. So I was wrong because I was like, I don't know, Monique. I don't know if this really has grounds, and I wanted to get you on the phone. But they have not done a marquee black woman comedian special.
Well, let me ask you something, baby. When you first introduced me, how did you introduce me?
Oh, you're a legend, no question. That's without a question.
Facts.
But that doesn't mean that Netflix understands that.
Well, let me say this to you, baby. When Netflix refers to me as a legend, now, is you referring to me as a legend different from Netflix referring to me as a legend?
Well, yeah, because I don't have a checkbook. If it was up to me, I get your audience. I don't think Netflix gets it.
But here's what I'm asking you, baby. The Vice President, Robbie Prohl, at Netflix said Monique is a legend. Now, when we say in our community, and period, Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle are legends, and they are. And everything our brothers got, they were supposed. But when you refer to me as a legend, and the Vice President of Netflix in comedy refers to me as a legend, why is my money so different and I'm being referred to as a legend?
True. Now, you say they are, and listen, I feel like after understanding that Tiffany Haddish was a Showtime special, not a Netflix special, then when I went and looked, there's clearly no promotion or marquee promotion for black female comedians. And somebody like Monique and the Queens of Comedy, we saw what those numbers are. We've seen that. Like there's ticket sales, there's DVD sales, there's all types of metrics for them to measure whether or not this should be worth.
Could they feel, Monique, I'm playing devil's advocate, but in this case, maybe literally, but could this be that because there's been some time there in your role, you become a serious actor also? Maybe they don't see that connection as much, that you would instantly turn in the sort of numbers you did with the Queens and things of that nature?
You know what? If I can humbly answer that.
Please.
That would make a lot of sense. However, they felt the need, and I'll start off by saying Monique has not stopped doing stand-up comedy in 28 years. And what would happen is to ignore her doing stand-up is the equivalent of saying that the cast from Hamilton can't do television because they've been doing stage and we haven't seen them. You wouldn't know that Hamilton was an extraordinary play on Broadway had you not seen it advertised, but can you negate their talent?
Right.
So when she's doing stand-up, and they had two individuals come out to see her, what I need to understand is, in conjunction with what she's done, because you're right, you may be a 7-time champion, but right now you might not pick Bill Russell to be one of your starting five.
That's right.
But what happens is when they come out to see you play and you get a standing ovation on 2 different nights, in show business, that's kind of like the highest form of thank you from the audience for our money. So they witnessed, not only did they go, you have to research the resume, but they saw and they witnessed a standing ovation. And what I will humbly say that is very unique in these times is this. When you have a Levity Live, when you have TV One, and when you have the Improvs saying we stand behind Monique, look at the NFL. How many companies did you see standing behind the players?
Mm-hmm.
So it says they are the fabric of the comedic world at the comedy clubs. They know what she gives when she comes out there, and audiences don't provide you with a standing ovation because you did not execute at the highest.
Now, and for this protest boycott, Monique and you guys are saying that it's not about whether or not you felt like she should have got as much money as a Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle. It's the insult that the offer was $500,000.
Yeah, and let me be clear about something, because there are some folks that's trying to turn this into, I have an issue with Amy Schumer. I don't have a issue with my sister in comedy, and that $13 million she got, she was supposed to get it.
That's right.
She was supposed to get it. The $20 million that Chris and Dave got, they were supposed to get it. But when you say, guys, when you put all of our resumes side by side, what's different about Monique? And when you come up with, well, Monique hasn't been on TV in a while. Well, I've always said I'm a stand-up comedian, babies. Y'all gave me the title as actress. I'm a stand-up comic, and I've never stopped doing stand-up comedy. So now for me to have to come in, and this is what's puzzling, baby. When I go onto a show with 2 white brothers, Bernie and Sid, right?
Mm-hmm.
You all know Bernie and Sid?
I mean, I've heard their names, yes.
Now, Bernie is a strong Republican Trump reporter. Sid is a Democrat, right? Now, I'm going into this interview already with a preconceived notion that, okay, I'm getting ready to go in here and I got to really prove my point. But 5 minutes into me explaining what was happening, those 2 white brothers said, y'all, time out. This is racism at its finest, and we will not support Netflix because we see what's happening. Why are we even putting this woman through this? So when I have to explain it to my brothers that look just like me, because they're saying, oh, she's not worth it, then I would ask my brothers, what female black comedian is? Which one is? Because when you go down in history, baby, see, we'll do documentaries on Moms Mabley, but Moms Mabley died broke.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a documentary on LaWanda Page, but LaWanda Page died broke.
But let's be clear, Monique, you ain't dying broke. Whether Netflix gives you the money or not, that ain't how this story ends.
Well, and
It's not about it ending in that way. The question that you have to ask yourself, is it fair? And what people are saying is, because it's always been that way, that seems to trump that it's not fair. And we have to say to ourselves, if we can speak out and not always get what it is that we want, however will we be able to get what we want if we stay silent?
I guess the question I would have is Netflix here, and I'll be honest, the reason I think this is challenging is because even though we all have an affinity for Monique, to be totally blunt with you at this point in life, we all have an affinity for Netflix also, right? That is, it's a product that people, from a value standpoint, the average person gets a lot of entertainment from there for very little money, which I think is why there's a little bit of a disconnect for why people are so apt to defend it. But my question is it that Netflix are bad and need to be protested? Or are they sort of, is this more a symptom of a problem of black female comedians generally not getting the respect, praise, and money that they deserve?
It's a culmination of all of that with the dismissal of calling anyone bad. What we're challenging is not the human being, because there oftentimes are human beings until they are enlightened to the real issue they're under the impression it's one way, but then when they find out that's not what it is, they're like, okay, I got it. I must admit to it. We can't say that. We're speaking up because this is about saying if Monique took this deal, being that she's accomplished what she's accomplished and done what she's done, and they're offering her $500,000, okay? She's the headliner from the Queens of Comedy. So essentially you're saying to a community, their queen is only worth $500,000, but Amy Schumer is worth $13 million. It seems a little bit disproportionate. And when you say that people have gotten connected to Netflix so it makes it difficult, all you're sharing with us is that people are saying, I'd rather have the convenience of television than standing up for people's rights. But there's an old saying, you will succumb to what it is that you support. If you allow people to continue to take advantage of others, it's only going to be a matter of time before they're taking advantage of you.
Come on.
So this is the reason why we're doing this, because people are saying Monique is stupid. She should have just took the $500,000. Perhaps she is stupid, but what you want to accuse her of is not caring about the people that came behind her.
So let me ask you this: what do you think the value is? And I'm not in that business, so I don't. But if they would have came with a number that was more like 2, 3, 4, 5 million, would you have still been offended?
Well, let me ask you this, and I appreciate that question. If Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle got $20 million, right?
Yeah, I thought Dave got
money,
like 60 or something
It's been
stupid.
public record, baby. I'm not saying anything that was behind closed doors. Like, it was a write-up about it. Because
Yeah, I
Amy
thought so.
Schumer actually did a write-up in Variety saying they first offered me $11 million, but when I found out that my brothers Chris and Dave got $20 million, I went back in and I said, though I should not get what they're getting because they're
more.
legends, but I should get
more. Got it.
Okay, so when you say, what should my rate be, what should I have accepted? Well, again, we keep devaluing the word legend when it comes to Monique. So you're saying, well, should you have gotten 2, 3, 4 million? And when I said on Sway's show that I was the most, and I said it humbly, that I was the most decorated comedian alive. I didn't say it to be conceited or to
These are
say,
facts.
look
You said
at
it
me.
based on
I
facts.
had to say it so people could understand it. And then people put out wonderful memes. Did you see the memes?
I saw a bunch of them.
Baby, they had people jumping out the window. They had Prince and Arsenio. It was funny as hell. But what people didn't understand was I wasn't lying. Because when I say most decorated, we talk about awards, right?
That's right.
Because when you say most decorated in the service, it's a stripe. So in awards, I've won 57 awards and had 25 nominations. Chris Rock won 19 awards, 63 nominations. Kevin Hart, 15 awards, 29 nominations. Dave Chappelle, 5 awards, 12 nominations. Eddie Murphy, 30 awards, 72 nominations. Amy Schumer, 17 awards, 38 nominations.
Now, that's being said not to impress you, but to impress upon you that if these individuals, all of whom who have received huge paydays and deservingly so, what is in Monique's resume that would negate her from getting it as well? And when you say that she hasn't been out in a while, see, and what have you done lately? There are statements that are applicable to black people, and there are statements that are applicable to whites in this business. And when you're black, it's what have you done for me lately? When you are white, it is you're only as good as your last project. Okay?
Right.
So based upon the old standard of you're only as good as your last project, well, she did Almost Christmas, in which she was a fan favorite of the movie, which happened to test the highest for Universal in the last decade from the pre-screening audiences before it hits the big screen, and she tested in the 90s as a fan favorite. That doesn't have anything to do with the metrics. And what was odd for us is that when you tell me directly, Robbie Paul tells me directly that Monique's resume and what she does and her movies don't translate for Netflix, but then I say, well, what is the approach that you're using? What is your metrics that you're using to allow Amy Schumer to get the $13 million she got? He said, I'm glad that you asked me that. What we use is the anticipatory approach. What is that? We anticipate based upon what it is that she's done, what it is that she will do. So, for instance, she sold out Madison Square Garden 2 times. And she also had a big movie that came out this past summer. Now, that big movie that came out was Snatched. 2 things to that. If you listen closely, Madison Square Garden and the movies, which doesn't translate for Monique because they don't include resume in movies, that's actually a resume and movie.
Right, so they contradicted themselves clearly.
Clearly. And then when you go and research the big movie that Amy did, which it was a big movie, because she had a domestic gross in Snatch of $45,852,000. Almost Christmas, which Monique was in, it only made $42,158,780, which is still a good movie, but $3 million less than Snatch. However, Snatch had a $42 million budget, which gave them a $3,852,000 profit, whereas Almost Christmas had a $17 million budget, okay, and they made $42 million, which is essentially about a $25 million profit.
I got lost in the math. I'm not a mathematician. Listen, I think y'all have a platform and a case. I guess what I'm sitting here thinking about with regard to Netflix and those that want to boycott, and look, I haven't even finished watching Black Mirror. What else have I watched on Netflix?
I don't a lot. House of Cards.
Yeah, but that dude's not on it no more. Is it gonna be any good?
Oh, you trying to see if it won't be that hard for you to
yeah, like I'm trying to think if I cancel my subscription and support Monique, what are we trying to gain? Do we even I guess Monique, my question is this: do you even want to do your special with Netflix after all this, or are you just bringing attention to the disparity that is taking place within Netflix?
Because we saw Wanda Sykes come out and thank
This
Monique.
ain't, what I want y'all to understand, this ain't personal. It's business. And if Netflix plays fair business, we can do business because this is not personal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I guess the reason I'm asking is I guess I'm sitting here thinking well, why not go to Showtime? Why not go to HBO? Why not go
That's
to...
what Wanda Sykes did.
Yeah, why not go to, I don't know if Viacom does comedy specials.
It's not to say I won't, brother. It's not to say I won't.
So it is to bring attention to what's taking place.
This.
Yes.
And there are folks that said, Monique, why didn't you do what Wanda did? She just went somewhere else. Because Wanda is Wanda and Monique is Monique. And for Monique can't keep running. Monique can't say, well, I won't say nothing and I'll just go somewhere else. It's not to say I won't go somewhere else, but we got to bring attention to this right here. And again, when we have us, and if you go in history, when Eartha Kitt spoke up, who backed her? When Nina Simone spoke up, who backed her? When Hattie McDaniel spoke up, who backed her? This is historically what we do to one another. Mm-hmm. Because when you do hear Charlamagne the God on The Breakfast Club, and that sweet baby, they said he gave me donkey the other day.
What do you mean?
Y'all hear that?
Wait, why? Because he thought maybe you shouldn't?
Because he was saying Monique is out of her mind. Monique is out of her mind. So when you hear our brothers saying that, you have to say, y'all, what is it that we have coming when we don't see the value in ourselves? And as that sweet sister sits there with them on The Breakfast Club, and she said, well, I think Monique's worth is about $2 million. And I'm saying, my baby, it's going to be your turn one day. Mm. And when it's your turn that day, guess what? I'll still be fighting for you.
Damn.
And I guess what people don't understand is if you haven't acquired or accomplished what it is that she has done, because if you look at football and you look at sports, players appreciate that they hear the salaries of the receiver who averages 85 yards a game and they have 5 receptions a game, but they got a $20 million contract. They're not saying that they don't deserve it. They're just simply saying that because I have 10 receptions a game.
No, that's you look at the average of the best players in the league, and the category that Monique is in, she deserves to be making a certain amount of money.
Well, and that being the case, what we're saying is, if she took what they gave her, the individuals coming behind her.
No, you're right. Listen,
that's right.
That's absolutely right.
Well, what we're saying then, then if we're right, then there's no question as to, is Netflix more important than making sure that people are able to feed their families adequately in this industry and be paid fairly?
But the problem, and I'm sorry, because I'm on your guys' side on this. The reason I'm presenting the other side is I do think that the challenge is you're asking people to care more. You're asking the average person to care more about future generations of actors.
We're not. We're asking them to care about themselves too, because
but for them, caring about themselves is having cheap entertainment. That's what they see.
You're looking at it from a microeconomic standpoint. We're looking at this from a macroeconomic.
I'm looking at it as the way our listeners look at things. I'm just keeping it real.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm sharing with you that we've gotten more people in everyday life than less that understand that what's transpiring in Hollywood is not transpiring in any way differently outside of Hollywood.
Sure.
So they can relate to, ask your mother, ask your aunt, have they found any disparity in their life based upon them being a woman?
And they'll say for sure.
Of course.
And if they say for sure, if you had the ability to change the disparity as to what happened in their lives, would you cancel your Netflix to do it?
Mo, the ad-libs in the back.
Listen, this is why it's good for you to get this message out, because if people hear it, if people can hear the words, I think you got a chance. It's hard. People just see it and...
But you didn't answer the question, my brother.
Yeah, yes, you saying it makes an impact. Of course, people.
That's why we're doing it, because people like you who didn't see it, not because you're trying to be messed up, you just didn't see the relevance. But when we
No. By the way, that's not the case. Let me just say that's not the case. I absolutely see the relevance. I absolutely do. I'm just explaining to you, people.
When I say see the relevance, meaning see the relevance enough until it was applied to you, to now it makes sense for you to cancel your Netflix.
Yeah, no, that is true. I will tell you, I didn't think, when I first saw it, I thought, wow, $500,000 is ridiculously low for Monique. That's insane, especially knowing Amy Schumer, who's very talented, got $13 million. That's bonkers. But then I thought, just being, I never lie on the radio, would I cancel my Netflix subscription? Because a lot of people talk about it. Will you do it? And I think you guys, in explaining that, how much of an impact this has for the people who come after you, because a lot of people go, well, Monique's fine. But you're right, it's not about Monique. And I think that's an important point to make.
And you know what, baby? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Rosenberg.
Hey, Rosenberg. You know, I think, too, the listeners that you guys have, they're very intelligent. And those listeners have a mind of their own. And oftentimes in this business, you'll have a representative that speaks for the masses of people. And I've heard you say a few times, I know what my listeners believe. I know what they believe. So what happens is when we start putting that out there, we begin, because we know how powerful our platforms are, Rosenberg. We know how powerful they are. So we can change the minds of people just by subliminal messages with, I know what my people believe. Do you really? Because if your people are women, if your people are men that have a consciousness, are you saying that all of those listeners believe that we believe in Netflix more over entertainment than equality? Because now you're saying how you feel about the people that listen to you, that they would rather be entertained than stand for equality. And I don't believe not one of your listeners believe that. So I had to address it because, again, we know how strong these platforms are. And when you have people behind those microphones, when you have people that have that pen and that paper, and they can say based off of their opinions with nothing to back it up with, but you can change the minds of masses of people. So I have to address it, because had I not, we would have gotten off of this interview with feeling like that audience that shallow that they would say, we'd rather be able to be entertained than stand for what's right. And I couldn't allow us to end this interview with knowing that you felt that way about the people that listen to you guys every day.
I think, Monique, that I totally understand why you address that. I think sometimes we who are doing well have a tendency to believe that people have the luxury of caring about the greater good. And a lot of people listening to our show don't have that luxury. They have the luxury of, I worked all week, I want to get home, and I want to watch the show that I watch on Netflix. That's what I was trying to say. I'm not trying to say that they don't care about equality, but when they say, and this is why it's good that you guys are talking to us, when they see a headline, and this is why on our show we have in-depth conversation, we don't just say it. When they just see a headline that says Monique doesn't think she got enough when she got offered $500,000, they go, I've never even seen $500,000. I'm gonna pay my $10 for Netflix. But when you have the conversation, I totally agree. It is a very important conversation, and I'm glad we had it because I think it could impact people. But
Rosenberg, let me ask you this. When the public found out Amy Schumer got $13 million, did anyone say, oh my God, do you know what I could do with $13 million? We applauded that sister.
When they protested.
When they offered her $11 million, folks started protesting, saying that's a little unfair because Chris and Dave got 20. What y'all doing? And they said, oh, you know what? Y'all are right. We're going to give her $2 million more. So when you say that your audience is saying, oh, do Monique know what we could do with $500,000? See, there's a subliminal message that you're not putting in there. Does this black woman know that $500,000 should be a gift? And is she crazy to turn it down? See, that's the subliminal message. Since you say y'all have real conversations on the show, that's the message no one is discussing.
No, you're dead right about that. That message is they're making that message very clear. You're 100. Believe me, it was not lost on me when I saw the article. $13 million for Amy Schumer, $500,000 for Monique. I get it. Amy's been hot over the last 2 years, 3 years, but that's insane. I absolutely agree, Monique. That is a very important conversation. But I'll be honest, myself and my listening audience, the other hard part is we didn't care about Amy Schumer. So her getting money didn't even get on our radar.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know.
We didn't even know. We don't care about Amy Schumer. No
I've
offense.
never even seen her do stand-up, and I'm happy for her. I think she's funny. I never even saw the special.
So
we completely get that you're saying that, but what we're saying to you is that the listening audience that you're speaking in reference to, they care. And as a prime example, how many guys did you cats come up with that didn't make it, and they look at you as the cat that did?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because you came up in an area where no matter what, you could have been raised in the suburbs, you can be raised in the hood. 100% of where you're going to be, typically everybody's not going to do the right thing. And for you guys to achieve to be where you are right now, what that means is you thought differently. Okay? They say you attract what you are. So if you guys thought differently enough to navigate your way to be in the positions that you're in, to have the platform that you have, when there's so few spots and so many people that want to do it, you're attracting those same type of people. So there's a level of appreciation for the for things that are not so obvious that I believe you're witnessing, and you had to have witnessed to be where you are. Well, that's what they see in you. So don't discount them and then say that's not what you meant, because our game is communication, so we must articulate exactly what we mean. And we appreciate you guys being kind enough to give us this platform, and most importantly, reasonable enough to hear it out and be decent enough to say, now that makes sense.
And it does. And thank you guys
I think
for
it made,
time.
I think it made sense from the beginning. And I'll go back to it. I didn't realize from the beginning. I was like, I don't know if Monique has base for the race part. The gender part, I thought for sure, because I don't see a lot of women's specials in general. But that was when I thought Tiffany Haddish had a Netflix special. As soon as I found out I was on Showtime, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, we don't know.
Wait a minute. So I guess what happens next, Monique? What happens next? Like, obviously the boycott Netflix. You saw what Jada had to say. There's a lot of people supporting you. What happens next?
Another day, baby. Another day in it. It's when we say what happens next. This has been a situation that's been going on for how long?
Oh no, it's woven into the fabric of the country. I mean,
right.
That's just part of the whole thing.
Until we really start standing up, that's what happens next. See, when you three individuals say, I am boycotting Netflix, and Rosenberg, because you have such a tight relationship with your listeners, I believe when you say it, they're going to say, you know what, we got to follow our brother.
And we would put our Netflix account behind for our mamas.
Come on.
And when we get an opportunity.
Well, now, hold on now. Monique, we start throwing out mamas. I'm going to need some of that good cooking that you always talk about if we're going to go all the way.
You know
what I mean? Like, y'all not just going to keep calling us brothers and mamas and family, and I'm not getting a meal. I'm not getting a sleepover. I'm not getting a ride in the Bentley. Like, I'm not getting none of the...
I ain't riding in the Bentley. Put us together. But y'all go ahead and stand with us on this boycott. You got you some banana pudding coming.
There you go. All right, now we're talking. That's all it took. That's all. We could have ended this a long time ago. Boycott Netflix. Monique giving everybody banana pudding. We're good.
Thank you, guys.
We love y'all. Thank y'all, baby.
Appreciate
Thank you
the
so
talk.
much.
Cheers.